Do you think World's Toughest Podcast is coming back? On today's show, second place TMX Miami winner, Orla Walsh. Later this week, our Toughest Mudder South preview episode. Also, today, though, an exciting announcement about a brand new way to listen to the show. Exciting might be overselling it. This is the World's Toughest Podcast. Welcome to the World's Toughest Podcast, where we talk about any obstacle course race you'd like, as long as that's World's Toughest Mudder. Each week we talk to members of the WTM community and share stories of success and failure in the single greatest event in OCR. My name is Will Hicks, and this is the World's Toughest Podcast. Aloha. That is Hawaiian for hello and goodbye. Actually, it's pronounced aloha. I just spent some time in our nation's 50th state. When I got there, I asked the guy at the airport if it was pronounced Hawaii or Hawaii. And he told me it was pronounced Hawaii. So I said, thank you. And he said, you're welcome. Well, that's our show. Be sure to tip your waitresses. Welcome back to World's Toughest Podcast. You are listening to the number one obstacle course racing podcast in the world because of listeners like you leaving reviews on Apple Podcasts. Thank you for those reviews. Before we start, my name is Will Hicks. You can reach me at willhicks@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Toughest Podcast. And you can find us on Instagram at World's Toughest Podcast. I've been more of a Twitter guy, but I'm kind of coming around to Instagram. Pictures are fun. We've got course maps and weather forecasts and other cool stuff there. Feel free to check that out on Instagram. So Twitter, Instagram, you can go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/World's Toughest Pod and see a whole stack of pictures from TMX Miami. We had a photographer out there shooting just for us. Feel free to download those pictures and share them with your friends or enemies. Either way, my treat. And of course, you can be a part of the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, and I will read it on a future episode. Hey, do you want to hear about a brand new way to listen to the show? Do you have an Amazon Echo? Check this out. Alexa, enable World's Toughest Podcast skill.
Okay, here's World's Toughest Podcast. Welcome. The newest episode is 073 TMX Sacramento Recap with Michelle Ford. Would you like to listen to it?
Sure. On today's episode, your TMX Sacramento and World's Toughest Mudder third place winner, Michelle Ford. This is the World's Toughest Podcast. Thank you, Alexa. Thank you, Alexa. Welcome to the World's Toughest Podcast. Alexa, stop. Very excited about Alexa. Alexa is the Amazon virtual assistant. Most people use Alexa through their Amazon Echo, but Amazon is pushing to get Alexa into other areas like your car stereo. We are the first and only OCR podcast on Alexa right now. So here's the deal. We're part of a pilot program with Amazon. They let us in and they asked us to promote the fact that you can listen to the show on Alexa. So do me a favor. You don't have to buy anything, but just download the Alexa app on your iOS or Android device. And it's free. Just go to the App Store, search for Alexa, and click the menu download the app, click the menu in the top left corner, and click Skills. Then search for World's Toughest Podcast. Click the skill, and then there's a big button that says Enable the skill. And then you can do two things, and you're golden. Listen to an episode through Alexa, and leave a review on Alexa. As I'm recording this, we have 0 reviews on our World's Toughest Podcast skill on Alexa. Who wants to be number 1? Of course, if you have an Alexa device, I have the Echo, which I think is the main one that most people have. It looks like a cylindrical speaker. It is a cylindrical speaker. If you have an Echo device, all you have to do is say, Alexa, enable World's Toughest Podcast skill, and you're golden. She'll walk you right through it. I say she because I don't know why. It's a woman's voice, right? So, World's Toughest Podcast is on Alexa. Very exciting. Today in our show, Orla Walsh. Orla finished second at the most recent TMX race in Miami. She'll be competing in the TMX World Championships in Virginia very soon against Corinna Coffin, Cassidy Watton, and the other women of TMX. We're going to talk about Miami and what it will take to beat Corinna Coffin. We also spent a bit of time talking about the mental side of OCR and talking to yourself during a race. That's a big part of World's Toughest Mudder. You're out there for a long time, a lot of it by yourself. But Orla talks about how she's doing the exact same thing during TMX, during a short 15, 20-minute race. It's a good talk in a few minutes. Later this week, we'll have our Toughest Mudder South preview episode. We'll talk about the course, the athletes, and what you can expect out there obstacle-wise and weather-wise. And I will tell you whether or not Toughest Mudder South will be canceled. The answer is, it better not be. But first, let's talk about some Tough Mudder news. Last week was Tough Mudder London West. Will Chung, one of our listeners, was there. Will sent me an email with his thoughts on the weekend. I'm going to read an excerpt. In my opinion, the laps worked quite well. Speaking to Anka, that's Anka Frederick he's talking about. She's been a guest on the show. She's from Germany. She travels to a lot of races in the U.S. and all around the world. Episode 38, we talked with Anka. Speaking to Anka, who has done some U.S. Tough Mudders, she said it's much better than what's been happening stateside, mostly because even though there were 2 laps in the UK, there were a few loops rather than everyone doing the same lap, give or take different obstacles. The laps joined at different parts, and a few obstacles were repeated. Hero walls, skid marked, lumberjacked, and kiss of mud. What wasn't fun about the second lap is that you bypassed Mud Mile and Blockness, possibly 2 of the most fun Tough Mudder obstacles. The second loop was much more trail running, with Funky Monkey low and dropped to the ground. There was no water at London, I saw. But Funky Monkey started with the Revolution wheels, then to the monkey bars. This was a much more difficult way round. Because of the issues last year with the number of injuries to Everest, they've made a change. It's shorter, has a gripper surface, and the ledge is back to grab onto. Completion rate is really high for this now. Finisher obstacle was Pyramid Scheme 2.0, which had water at the bottom about waist deep, and then a tall pyramid, which you need 3 or 4 people to get to the top. Pyramid Scheme isn't as fun to watch as electroshock therapy, and electroshock therapy was half its usual size. Course is much more spectator-friendly, though, with a lot of the bigger obstacles within a 10-minute walk. Overall, not the end of the world as predicted by the Legionnaires here in the UK. Report card, B-. Good attempt, could do better with feedback. And that is from Will Chung in the UK. You can hear more from Will in last season's episode 18. A long time ago. Thank you for that report, Will. There's some disconnect between TMHQ US and UK. Between TMHQ US and all the countries. The way I understand it, or the way it has been, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, TMHQ, willhicks@gmail.com. TMHQ Brooklyn is the mothership, and all the other countries except the UK are run as franchises. Ireland and Germany and Australia, all the countries, they have to toe the line with what TMHQ says, but they have some latitude to do their own thing. The UK is still owned by Team HQ US, but there's clearly some space between them as far as execution. Speaking of things I don't like, I was reading Mud Run Guide recently, and I saw an article that had something I didn't like. The article was an OCR book review, which is fine. But what bothered me was a trend I saw with a list of the athlete names. And every athlete on the back of this book had a little nickname in quotation marks. And if this trend continues with OCR athlete nicknames, this is what we're going to be dealing with in a couple years.
Nothing could stop the Big Dog Ninja tonight. They're chanting Iron Josh. That's for this guy. The Eskimo Ninja delivers. It's the dancing machine, the Island Ninja Grant McCartney. The Matador Ninja Gerardo Huerta. Berkeley, California, Sean Bryan is known as the Papal Ninja.
The Papal Ninja. Come on, guys. If you want an OCR nickname, let me tell you the 2 rules of nicknames. Rule number 1, you cannot give yourself a nickname. Rule number 2, you cannot give yourself a nickname. There are very few OCR nicknames that I know of, real ones, that were given by somebody else. Matt Bear Novakovic is the main one. Joe DeSena called him that, and it stuck. Not a lot of people know the real reason they call him Bear Novakovic. Matt used to be a member of a naturalist running commune up in Alaska, and that's how they would run up there. Bear Novakovic. It's hard to believe, right? Yeah, I wouldn't believe it either. I know what you're saying, and I will save you the time. What about Hunter McIntyre? He calls himself the Sheriff. And I know, it's a good nickname. So here's what we'll do. I will compromise with you on the nickname thing if you are the champion of a major OCR race. If you've won World's Toughest Mudder or the Spartan Race World Championship or TMX, Tougher Mudder World Championship, then you can give yourself a nickname. But otherwise, no self-nicknaming. So you can have your Hunter, the Sheriff McIntyre, or your Corinna, I'll send you to your coffin, or Miguel, Funky Swole Medina, but no more Bob Spartan Stewart, or George Wasp McGee, or Matt B. Davis. Funky Swole Medina's pretty good, though.
Funky Cole Medina.
Instead of a nickname, you should get yourself a theme song.
Christopher Mendoza.
Do you remember a few months ago, we gave out the end-of-year Toughest Award presented by World's Toughest Podcast for outstanding accomplishment on the Tough Mudder circuit. We had a group of voters representing the elites of Tough Mudder, the World's Toughest community, and the media of obstacle course racing. The winners were Allison Ty for the women and Ryan Atkins for the men. The awards finally came in, and they are in the hands of Allison and Ryan. You can see pictures of them on our Instagram page, on Instagram at World's Toughest Podcast. They look great. They look so good. This is a true story. The pictures don't look real. They look like a mock-up or something, but they're the actual, those are real pictures of the trophy. You can see Allison posted a picture on her Facebook or her Instagram page. Check them out. They're pretty cool. There are also pictures of the Perpetual Awards on our Instagram page. Those awards are on my desk in the World's Toughest offices. Each year we'll add the name of the newest recipient of the award to the Perpetual Awards. Thanks to my photographer, Mike Smith, for those sweet pictures. Before we talk with Orla Walsh, let's read some iTunes reviews. Our first review comes from the U.S. Triathlete 415 writes, "So real, so real. 5 stars. Great podcasts, great guests, great host." Thank you, Triathlete 415. I don't know Triathlete 415, but area code 415 is San Francisco. So thank you for the review, Triathlete 415. Our next review comes from Devin from Arizona. Devin writes, 5 stars. I started listening to every episode almost exactly 1 year ago after my girlfriend told me she signed up for WTM and asked me to be part of her pit crew. Admittedly, I had no idea what that meant, and I'd only completed one Tough Mudder event at the time. I turned to this podcast due to her recommendation for insight to make sure we would both be prepared, as much as we could be, and I'm so thankful that I did. I would have been so lost without Will's help, and this podcast continues to encourage me to better myself in my own endeavors. This podcast is great for all things Tough Mudder and life, and Will's commitment to continuously provide great content cannot be understated. If you're part of the Tough Mudder community in any capacity, this podcast is for you. Devin, thank you for that. Those are very kind words. I sincerely appreciate that. How did your girlfriend do at World's Toughest Mudder? How did you do? We've talked about it once or twice on the show, but having your significant other as your pit crew at World's Toughest Mudder is brave. It gets intense, and you both will be stressed and short-tempered and not at your best personally. Allison Ty's husband pits for her. Lindsay Webster used to pit for Ryan Atkins before she started running it herself. Cassie Harris pits if she's not running for Walter Lyon and Team Four Eyes. Anyway, Devin, good for you guys. Making it work. I hope. Our last review comes from The Disqualifier. I don't know what that means. The Disqualifier, right? I know what disqualifier means. I don't know. Anyway, The Disqualifier writes, "Road trip savior, 5 stars. I drove 6 hours to Arizona for Tough Mudder, and World's Toughest Podcast kept me going the whole time. I love all the community tidbits, and the interviews are always interesting and relevant. Will Hicks gets 5 stars for keeping me awake on the long drive." Well done, Disqualifier. I'm glad you didn't crash your car on your 6-hour drive. Podcasts are great to keep you awake. Also great to keep you awake, naps. Take a nap before you go so you don't crash. Please. But I'm glad we were able to keep you company on your drive. You can be a part of the show like Triathlete 415, Devin from Arizona, and The Disqualifier. Just open the Purple Podcast app on your iOS device and search for Tough Mudder. We're the first one that pops up. Click our logo and then scroll down to click Write a Review, and I will read it on a future episode. Thank you for doing that. Today in our show, Orla Walsh. Orla finished second at TMX Miami recently, and she will be participating in the TMX World Championship in Virginia on June 8th. She will be one of the women looking to unseat Corinna Coffin as the TMX World Champion. You'll be able to watch the race live on Facebook or on CBS in July. Stay tuned for exact air dates. It's time to talk with Orla Walsh. Let's go to the phones. Orla Walsh, thanks for coming on the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I'm sorry it took a little tag and back and forth for us to get on the same page, but I'm glad we are able to do it today.
Orla, you won second place at TMX Miami. Congratulations.
Thank you. I know that it seems like it was a little while ago, but yeah, it was pretty awesome. Really proud of everyone that made it out there, and I'm glad I could kick everyone else's butt. So.
You finished the course with a time of 15 minutes and 33 seconds. Tell me about the race.
Yeah, the race was intense. Oh my gosh. And I had to do it twice, and it got harder the second time. But the course just was everything. You couldn't really be bad at something to prevail at the other. However, I have a stronger sense in running than I do in my strength ability. So it's interesting how the course really works towards people's, advantages versus their disadvantages. But, so the course, we went out fast. Cassidy took it out like a beast, because she is a beast, and made me nervous. Like, I've never actually done a full set of 15 butterfly pull-ups before in a row. It's been my goal since I did TMX last year. I'm like, I'm going to get 15 solid, unbroken, I can't say that they're solid. They're probably uglier than hell. So, and everyone was critiquing our form, but that's okay. So Cassie went up fast, and I was able to get I could back up a little, but she went out real fast. But I think everyone saw my power clean sandbags from a little improvement from last TMX last year to, that race. I don't think me and Kate Kramer could barely even clean the bags. And this time I went pretty solid. So my off season, I did something right in my off season. And then we went right into the sled drag, which I hadn't actually practiced. I don't know why I didn't. I thought I knew how to do it. And all of a sudden I was like, I better just look at what Cassidy or Corinna are doing, because I didn't know any better. So that is going to be something I work on. And then we went into box jumps, which I fumbled. I got super excited and jumped over it and lost my plan of thought. So I looked over at Corinna and Cassidy and just followed Corinna again, and then went to my pull-ups. But I got really pushed hard to get off the bar quick, did my unbroken pull-ups and went into that run. And that's where I'm probably stronger than most of those girls, is my running ability. So just getting my running and strength to match each other a little bit better is sort of the idea. And then I'll be unstoppable.
It sounds like you were doing those first set of CrossFit movements, kind of like I go to a fancy dinner. Like, you look at everybody to see which knife they're using or which fork they're using, and just kind of fake your way through it the first time. Yeah,
I guess I wasn't. I would like to say that it was my race. I only race my race now as I've gotten more experience, and I'm one of the older girls. I am 32. I think I might be one of the older girls in the competition that weekend. But just from experience, I should have done my own race, which I did. But I just was flustered in my head. And if you saw me on my first box jump, I definitely got a little flustered. But then you took a deep breath and just kind of zoned in and said, I know I can do this. I'm capable. I have a lot of mantras I kind of keep in my own head, because it's really a mental game when it comes down to being fit. But you have to have the right mentality, so you're not giving yourself negative thoughts and telling how stupid you are, or how much you suck, or because that used to happen a lot. And then I did look over and look at Corinna, but at the end of the day, coming out of this race has, just taught me some stuff that I am capable. I don't need to look at other people, and my training brought me here for a reason. So it's just things like that, you learn and you take with you to the next race. But yeah, I definitely did a little bit of oh crap, what are they doing? Oh, okay. And it's that's not what I practice. Practice, do what you practice. So that's a good learning curve. It was my first race of the year, so it's kind of rusty, Can you talk about that mental side of it? The mantras, how do you mentally prepare, or even during a race, what are you saying to yourself in your head? Well, usually before I start, I'm like, God, this is really going to suck. It's okay. I love doing this. It's going to hurt. And then, so when I get to the start line, I get real fired up even more. I'm already listening to DMX, Party Up.
Y'all gonna make me lose my mind. Up in here, up in here.
Because I like that kind of music. Really angry, just really get after it, pump me up music.
Up in here, up in here.
But it's kind of just mantras you are fierce, you are strong, you're capable, you can do this. And then I'll be come on, let's go. Or I swear a lot, but I'm come on, let's go. Move your shit, or fucking go. And just positive things. Instead, when I used to climb mountains for the mountain series, I'd be like, you suck, you can't do this. And it's like, those are red light thoughts. And I it's this thing of like only green light. And if you start feeling the yellow light thoughts coming in, you got to push those out and just know that like you belong here. I never knew I could get close to Corinna and Cassidy in last year's TMX. I think I was 12 minutes behind them. I never made it to the finals. I barely finished the time cutoff by 23 minutes and 48 seconds or something like that. So just knowing that like I trained well, and I didn't actually know where my fitness was. Like I know I've got some more abs, or I'm like stronger with my 1 rep maxes, but I don't know what that means really. So it was just like, all right, let's see how my off season was. I've been busy with a new job and some, other stuff, and let's do it. And it seems like my training is on par for my goals. So that's pretty exciting.
What are some more of those green light thoughts that you say to yourself while you're racing, while you're in the the pain cave, or while you're not wanting to do it?
Yeah. Like when I could barely pick up the D-ball, I'm like, just pick the fucking thing up. Or like, you can do this. You're strong. Do it. Like, don't stop, and keep like, just like turn around, drop it, pick it up. And it's almost like an oiled machine, it's going to hurt. So if you can go to a weird place, which not everyone can, and my friends and coaches know I'm in a weird place, like the face I make, or I'm in some like meditative state where like you're in it, but like you're not feeling the pain. And if you can get to that place and just be positive and just keep saying like, just pick it up. Or I say, okay, you can do this for another 15 seconds. This is only going to hurt now. Okay, 10 more reps. That's easy. You can do anything for 10 more reps. And I say that a lot. Like, this race is going to be over in less than 15 minutes. Like, you can do anything. And so I have to remind myself, like, breaking it up, in sections is really good. Instead of like, oh my God, this whole race is going to hurt. Well, of course it is. If it didn't hurt, if it wasn't challenging, then everyone would do it. So it's just like, you know what you're getting yourself into, and don't be shocked by it. And just continue to be positive. Tell yourself, like, you might have to do some convincing that you're a badass or you can do this, but in actuality, you can. We're all able. And like, I'd say it's more 80% mental than it is. You have to be physically fit, but at the end of the day, if you've seen the CrossFit, those girls and guys that don't have their mental together, or they haven't visualized the night before, like what they're going to do or their plan, they just fall apart. And like, you can fall apart so easily. It's quite interesting that people think we're these completely fit animals, but it's like not just the fitness. There's a lot of psychological stuff that needs to be sort of figured out. And I've been working on it for many years. I'm not even like, I have not perfected it, but I'm just figuring shit out a little more.
How do you build that mental muscle?
I think it's just over time, learning what works for you, because everyone's different. Some people might think I'm getting verbally abused when someone's yelling at me at a race, telling me to pick up the shit or like do it or don't stop. But that works for me. And like over time, like knowing I work well when people yell at me and tell me to move, like that works for me. But just over time, like racing, if you don't have race experience, I think that's a lot of like knowing, there's people around, and you're probably in your lowest point that you feel like you should die, or like it's like you want to stop. But just knowing, like trying to train in your fitness and your workouts, trying to like get to that place, maybe not 100%, but like 85 to 90% where it hurts. Like I was climbing up a rope and my coach said, get up there. And I like wouldn't get up and like yelled at me. And then I like almost fell down off the rope, but only because I was tired to get back up again and do it. And it's like just really pushing yourself to those really uncomfortable limits, experience doing it. And then I do a lot of like visualizing stuff when it comes to what does it look like when I'm going to go on the Kong or the monkey bars or something or whatever. And confidence, because if you can train your subconscious to then have your conscious see what your subconscious does, then like it's going to help when you get to it. But if you go up to something saying like, oh, I'm going to miss the spear again, or, oh, I'm going to fall off this again. Well, guess what? You've already lost by you're training yourself to do those negative things. There's a lot of research. I don't read all that stuff. I've read some stuff. There's a lot of great books and stuff about mental training and all the visualization and stuff. It's really cool. I think people should take a gander at it if they get a second. You know, if people think I have like a scientific program over here in Vermont, like I don't, and I haven't had I've had programs thrown at me and so many people wanting to help me, and I call it like trust the f***ing plan, because I haven't been able to for a long time, and I don't have like the vision board. I haven't even written down goals. I mean, I guess I wrote a goal on my CrossFit board, like, want to do 15 unbroken butterfly pull-ups. But other than that, it's like just trust the trust the f***ing plan. I don't know, TFP or whatever, trust the, I can't even say that. But anyways, it's just like I'm just finding confidence in my training and my coaching at my CrossFit gym and with Yancey, and just putting that together. No, I don't have a board. I don't have vision thing. I do pray. I'm religious, and I just go wake up every morning, feel how I feel, and then plan like accordingly. I think everyone has their way of doing stuff and it works for them, but I don't have, maybe I should. I'm not quite the artist. And I just kind of wake up and I have a plan, and I have workouts usually that if I feel good, I'm going to do it. Today I woke up, felt like crap still and tired, so I went swimming and rolled out and did some rest day stuff. So, just the body is my plan.
I think that's underrated. People, a lot of people want to sell their plan or their book or their program, but if it's something works for you, there's nothing wrong with doing what works for you and just keep doing it.
Yeah. I think that's it. Like, yeah, exactly. I don't read a ton of articles in terms of there's this book called With Winning in Mind. It's an Olympic biathlon, and that's where that mind training came in. And there's so many great literature out there. I'm reading stuff because I'm learning to try and be a better flight nurse. So I'm reading more about that and all of my medications and patient care stuff. So I don't have a ton of time to do all this reading, but I appreciate it. And I think there's so many great things and programs and coaching and diets, but it's I've done sort of a lot of that stuff, and it's just like my watch just broke, and it was one of those Ironman Walmart specials. So I don't have a heart rate monitor, and I don't track. I was tracking my macros or whatever, and I kind of just know. I feel like I know what works for me now. So it's like, some people, you need all that. They're scientific, and other people don't. So, I think at the end of this conversation, whatever works for people and it's working, keep doing it, and maybe try stuff to see if it works, because that sort of trial and error has been my sort of go-to. And I tried the high-fat, low, the keto, high-fat, high-protein. That didn't work for me. So just trial and error, and then you kind of get to know your body, and then just kind of it tells you what it should be doing.
The last half of the women's TMX final was probably the best OCR race I've ever seen. Tell me about the end of that race.
Oh my God! You mean where Matt D.B. Davis said I came back from the dead? That part? I don't know if you heard the podcast or the live coverage.
I did. That's where I saw it.
Okay. Yeah. So the second half was what I was afraid of. I had the running down. I passed them, in the middle of the running, and we went back and forth. The strength stuff, yeah, Sarah, that little beast of a little girl that she is, she's awesome, short and strong. And then there's Cassidy, tall and strong, and Corinna, and we just battled. I can't wait for June because I'm going to kick all their asses, but that's besides the point. It was just it was hard. The pain cave was real. It started and it didn't end till the D-balls. And I felt like I was going to die. I have some work to do. I have to buy a D-ball. I've been trying to remember to do that. But anyways, yeah, so it just was really painful. I was starting to probably break down a little bit. That was where my mental strength was there. But I also had friends, Hunter and Matt Kempson, that yelling at me to pick it up. And every time I dropped it, they said, pick it up. And like, I felt they probably thought it took seconds or years for me to pick it up each time. It was really rough, but I was just like, I can't quit. And when I saw Sarah run out before me, I was like, crap, like, dang it, I was ahead of her going into this. So it was frustrating, but that's where some athletes will give up and like just fall apart. And I was like, no, the race isn't over till it's over. And that's how obstacle racing always is, right? It's never over until you cross that finish line. And with experience and all this stuff, I just held tight. I felt like I had cement blocks when we were running that last section before. What's the name of that last obstacle again?
Was it Everest or Funky Monkey?
Oh, Funky Monkey, that's right. And so I just took my time, and I know I could have tried to go faster, but I think the idea with my nursing job, too, is just like being slow and smooth, I guess, is sort of what I'm saying. And I took my time. And if your heart rate's jacked and you are trying to do something and you don't give yourself enough time to recover, that's where you make mistakes. And Sarah, it's unfortunate. We've all been there. I've missed my sphere plenty of times. Just dumb stuff that, like, you have it. She fell off, and it's like, okay, time to execute. I didn't even realize she went for the running lap, the penalty. I thought she was going to go do it again. So that was something I didn't even, like, cross my mind, because she technically probably could have almost still gotten second if she was able to run, and beat me. But yeah, so I just executed the last obstacle. I haven't actually practiced a ton of obstacle stuff. That was just pure grip training that I've been doing. And so, yeah, I was a bit slow, but just did it, executed it, finished. And yeah, I was tired. It was hard. So Virginia's going to be tough.
How did it feel crossing the finish line?
It felt great crossing the finish line. I didn't really think I was going to hit the podium at all. I guess the funny thing was, it felt great, I guess, to answer your question. It felt like, wow, my off season paid off. I've worked really hard. That was my goal, to like get stronger. That was like my number one goal. And I guess just when I was coming down, I made my flight later because I had just got it in from work at like 1 in the morning. I was really tired and getting sick, so I was like, I'm going to delay my flight, go later. Well, then I missed my flight I didn't miss it. It got delayed because then we had to ice the plane. It was snowing. And then I missed my connection to Miami, and then got into Miami at like 3 a.m. on, Saturday morning. And so when I was boarding, I was waiting for the plane to get to going to Miami. I heard them boarding Burlington, Vermont, and I literally was like, what am I doing here? I don't know why I'm going to TMX. I'm not going to podium. Like, I'm going to go down there. I don't know why am I racing? Like, all that's went through my head. And I'm like really glad that I continued to go forward and go to Miami. Those are just insecurities and things that a lot of athletes probably go through. Like, what am I doing? My training, is it even like, that's where you have to trust the process again. And it's just a continuous battle of like trusting that you have the athletic ability and you're capable. But yeah, I definitely was like, maybe my racing, I'm done racing. I don't know if I want to do this anymore. To then getting second at TMX and first at Citi Field. And it's like, Orla, I think I'm just really tired from my flight training job. And then also just trying to get as much training in with, this riding the fine line of getting overtrained and sick and tired, but also trying to continue being a professional obstacle racer and a professional registered nurse. It's a hard balance.
It's interesting you say that about even in the airport. You're like, what am I doing? Because they say 20% of people who sign up for races don't show up. So it goes all the way from top to the bottom.
It does. It's true. I just really wasn't sure what I was doing. I'm 32. I have this career as a nurse, and maybe my time is up racing. It was just all this stuff. I was just so tired, and I felt I was sick. I think I almost felt like I had strep or bronchitis on Saturday and Sunday. So it was just kind of sucked that I was just I don't even feel good. I don't even want to do this. I'm tired. I just want to go home to a very great weekend with friends and the race. And Tough Mudder community is so awesome. It's also going to a Tough Mudder race for people. I've been on the Spartan team. I don't know a ton of people in Tough Mudder, and that's that's probably my own fault for just not doing Tough Mudders and reaching out to the community. But lo and behold, like, they're so amazing. They're so awesome. Tough Mudder, like, it was a party at the start line. We did the 5K on Saturday. It was just like a blast. And I'm just so grateful to be able to be a part of other communities than just like the one that I had been in the past.
You mentioned City Field last week. You got first place in the Spartan Stadium race at City Field. You've been getting podiums since 2013 in those stadium races. What do you like? What do you like about the short courses like that?
I love that it's quick and dirty, I guess, but not even dirty because I don't get muddy or wet. But it's just really quick. I grew up in high school and college being a 200-meter sprinter. Did some cross country in college at my end of my career, but I just love that it's so fast. It's red line the whole way. It's just enough, reps and obstacles to really make you uncomfortable, and it pushes everyone to just go fast. And that's my name of my game. I tried those longer races the last couple years, and I just really finally committed to just short course. And just since last TMX race to now, I've committed to only short stuff. And I'm not even running, I don't even want to tell people how many miles I'm running a week, but it's not a lot. City Field really hurt in terms of the running a little bit. It could have been 10 minutes shorter, but I love the short stuff. And I feel like, I don't know, Katniss or some lady flying through the stadium and people are trying to catch me. I love chasing after Kate as well. She's a beast in the stadium races, but I don't mind having a target on my back for those. They can keep coming after me. Are you going
to keep doing the stadium races this year?
Yeah, I'm definitely doing the 3 series with, City Field, Dallas, and Fenway. Fenway's my favorite. I'm a Red Sox fan. So I'm probably going to do a couple others, like DC. The Arizona one sounds fun, but in terms of just going to the stadiums and TMX, that is it. And maybe Iceland Sprint. I know that's random, but it'd be kind of fun.
You mentioned the TMX World Championship in Virginia on June 8th. What's it going to take to beat Corinna Coffin?
It's going to take a clean race, lots of training, commitment, and whoever wants it more. And by golly, I surely want to have a competition out there. So I hope we all bring our A game and just give it hell. And it's going to hurt. It's going to be really hard. But I think at the end of the day, whoever can survive all 3 rounds with endurance and fitness is probably going to come out on top. I hope that you'll see me up there. I plan on being up there, actually. There's no hope.
What would you say to somebody who runs OCRs and is thinking about doing a TMX?
I think if you are doing OCRs already, maybe, and want to run a TMX, you mean the short course, I guess that's right, yeah. I think in order to be competitive or just have fun, you want to start learning how just the techniques of some of the weird stuff, like how often do you do sandbag cleans and the heavy ones or sandbag thrusters, or you can go make yourself a slosh pipe and things like that. I think that's really important to hone in on those on the fitness stations, and also your grip strength, getting your heart rate jacked up and then going and trying to climb on some monkey bars, and just being aware that it's not just running, it's not just strength, and it's not just grip, but it's kind of like a triathlete of things in the obstacle in this race. It's not a CrossFitter, it's not an obstacle racer, but it's a hybrid. And who's going to be the best hybrid? And that's kind of what you're looking to do. So if you want to train for TMX, pick up some heavy shit, move it around, have fun doing it, and come out and try it because it's a lot of fun.
Orla, do you have any sponsors or anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, my Vermont crew. I love my people from Vermont. Spartan Race, Mountain Trail CrossFit, and Yancey Colts and Yancey Camp.
Orla Walsh, any last thoughts on TMX or anything else?
I just think it's so awesome to see where our sport has come. I'm so proud of all the athletes that partake in this sport and are excited to try it, and all the upcoming all-stars and badasses. And excited to see you guys out there and appreciate all the support. And yeah, let's do this, 2018.
Orla Walsh, thanks much.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Special thanks to Orla Walsh for appearing in this episode. Well done, Orla. Don't forget about our Toughest Mudder South preview episode coming later this week. And leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and on Alexa. Who will be our first review on Alexa? Thanks a lot, guys. Go spend time with someone you love. Aloha. Because it also means goodbye. Alexa, you there?
Yes, I'm here. I listen once I hear the wake word.
Alexa, who is Will Hicks?
I'd rather not answer that.
Alexa, who is Amelia Boone?
Amelia Boone is an American obstacle racer.
Alexa, who is Ryan Atkins?
Ryan Atkins is an English professional rugby league footballer who plays for the Warrington Wolves in the Super League.
Not even close. Alexa, you're wrong.
Thanks for letting me know.